Shiur in memory of Reuven ben Shmuel Halevi, who was a wonderful Maggid Shiurs and teacher at the OU Center, a mathematician who had brilliant gematrias and codes, mostly Torah codes. He used his brilliance in math to reveal many secrets of the Torah. And we wish you that Shem Shabbat Aliyah and everything should go well. Okay, I'm sorry. There you are. Come on the couch. Okay. Shem Shabbat Aliyah. Second. Very, very sorely missed. Okay, and also Yibon L'chaim for Shem Yosef Chaim Ben Shoshana Menucha for Shlema, and also Shiral Sigalit Chaya Bat Tzipora Chagit. Holy Israel, among all the other ones, and I will add a remarkable amount of injury and to damage property, people, both physically and emotionally, that was caused by that brief war in Gaza, Erev Yom Ha'atzmaut. And don't think for a moment that it wasn't a horribly serious, people brush it off, oh yeah. It was really, really a frightening day. There was, I think, 700 or so claims, and that doesn't even include the people who went into shock. Hundreds of people were wounded. It's not okay that Kol Yisrael doesn't feel the pain of so many other Jews. And I think that, especially Erev Shavuot, as we get closer to Shavuot, so let's learn La'aliyas Nishmas, those that were killed, but also for Shlema, for those who were damaged, whether physically, spiritually, or emotionally. Okay. We are at a very critical time. Remember, we're in limbo between America and Israel in terms of Parshat Shavuot. This week, past week, we read Emor, and this week we'll read Emor in America. So I wanted to share with you, I want to develop an idea that's critical to this time of year. I think it's a very deep concept that touches a lot of basic ideas in Yahadut. But it's just beneath the surface, so we have to dig a little bit. So let me explain. There is one word that recurs many, many times in Parshat Emor. And Emor has a couple of critical parts. The first is the rules of Tumah V'Tara for the Kohanim and the Kohen Gadol. For example, who can the Kohen Gadol make himself Tameh for? A very short list of people. His wife,
his sister, if she's a virgin,
right? His unmarried sister, or never married sister, whatever. His parents,
children.
That's
not for a child.
What's that?
For a child?
Yeah, for a child. So seven close probate. Brother, a sister, parents, that's 4. Wife, 5, and 3 for girl, child. Son and daughter. That's it. So, first question is, why not? I mean, we tend to think of rabbis and teachers and those that are with the people, right? So why do we restrict the Kohanim from contact to Tumah? Why? Adarabba, I would say, if Aaron Kohen is Oev Shalom and Rodef Shalom. I once heard a story about the Rebbitzin of England. You never even heard about her? That's the previous Rebbitzin. Jacobowitz, that's my parents. Bali or something like that. They wrote a biography of her. And she was a real peacemaker, like an Aharon-like figure in the community. So much so that when the Reform rabbi had a tragedy in his family, he was sitting Shiva, she was at his house for hours the day of the funeral, but didn't go to the funeral. Didn't go to the funeral. Because halachically it wasn't a kosher funeral. But that didn't stop her from being the main person giving comfort. Alright, so we have to understand why is it that the Kohanim, and especially the Kohen Gadol, are really, really restricted. Okay, number 2. The second portion of that speaks about, if we go into it, is some of the rules of the Kohanim themselves, and some of the violations that they have to avoid. So, for example, if there is a Kohen, he's not allowed to be mitame for a mace, as we just said. And he's not allowed to marry who?
Divorcee.
A grusha or a chalutza, a woman who went through a left-right marriage. Why not? What's wrong? Now, let's go to Sheni. A kohen that has a mum. What's the definition of a mum? For example, Iver, fine, Iseach, limp. Charum, he is, has some sort of disfigurement of some kind. Shever regel shevel yad. He's not allowed to do what? What can a Baal not do if he's a Kohen? Bring karbanos. Wow, talk about equal access and people with disabilities, Equal Disabilities Acts. Where's the ramp, for the Mizbeach, for the people with the wheelchairs? No. It's an ethical question. Why can't Baal participate? What's so terrible? What's going on over here? Why not? Again, it's counterintuitive in a way. Give him a chance. And not only that, he's not allowed to do it because, and we'll see why, because lechem Elohav mikadsheh kachama kadoshim umin hakadoshim. Because he's bringing the lechem, right? Lechem Elohav lo yagish. He's not allowed to bring the bread of Hashem. Excuse me? Most of our karbanos are what?
Flour.
Chametz stick or not chametz stick?
Chametz stick.
Most of our karbanos, they're flour, but they're not chametz stick. The overwhelming majority of our karbanos are kosher lePesach all year round. Very rare. There's certain things in a karban toda. There's a very famous karban coming up on Shavuot that's dafka and only made out of lechem. And what is that? The Shtey Halechem, the 2 loaves of bread and the accompanying karbanos that are brought on Shavuot. There is one primary lechem sacrifice. Menachos are largely flour, but it doesn't mean that they're chametz stick. My wife and I had an argument for Pesach. She wanted to save the very expensive spelt flour because my daughter-in-law likes to eat spelt flour. Just save the bag. I go, I just can't. If a little bit of water gets in there, that's it. You know what I'm saying? But technically, she's right. It's not chametz until it gets in contact with water. So now,
put it away with
you could sell it if you sell real chametz.
like the pasta.
Yeah. It's just a matter of being finicky. That I'm worried that chas v'sholom a little water got in there. But if you're selling real chametz, I try not to sell real chametz.
But I mean,
Right. If you sell real chametz, God bless you, then save it for sure. I'm not suggesting anybody do what I did. My wife also did that. That's another story. By the way, that reminds me, the month started to fall in this month of Iyar, which is called also Lechem Min Ha-Shamayim. So here's your key word that's going to occur many, many times in Emor in very unusual ways. The word is lechem. So, the reason why is a Kohen Gadol so holy? And why does a regular Kohen not allowed to marry a grusha and a chalutza? Says the pasuk, Perikaval pasuk. Ches v'kidashto. We learn from here the laws that you have to give honor to a Kohen. But for example, what does he get honor? What does he have honor? What honor do we give the Kohen? Of course,
Portion.
the first portion, but we give him the first aliyah, and we ask him to bench. Rishus HaKohanim. There's a mitzvah in general to honor Kohanim. And it may be, actually, I heard Rosh Shiur spoke about this past Friday night, there may be a very extensive list of prohibitions. Like somebody says, Chaim says, if you speak Lashon Hara about a Kohen, you're over an additional Aveira of V'kidashto. Wow. So there's a whole bunch of things. And my stepson's a Kohanim. If I ask them to take out the garbage, it's an issue. Really? Yeah, I have to take breaking out with somebody. But that's a different story. But it may be a problem. Why is he kadosh? Ki es lechem Elohecha hu makriv. He's bringing the bread of God. But there is no bread. We're talking about karbanot. And why is bringing bread make you have to restrain yourself from these unions? Why is that a reason? Okay, fine, he brings the karbanos. Okay, so what's the reason why he can't marry these people? Because he's bringing the bread. They're bringing the bread. What does bread have to do? So you have two examples now. Mum is disqualified. Kohanim are disqualified from marriage. Let's go a little further. The next part of the parsha deals with the fact that that the Jews themselves have a mitzvah of what? Kiddush Hashem. We have to honor Hashem. Okay? And that goes all the way to the level of what? Of being willing to give your life, right, al Kiddush Hashem. With three major averos, right? Kilei rayos, shrichus damim, and avoda zara, right? That's in this week's parsha. Fine. What does that have to do with anything? Why is that mitzvah inserted all of a sudden here? Very nice, important concept. Maybe say the Jews are also a holy nation. But we get the specific mitzvah that you have to give your life if, in certain circumstances, in the public, where there are 10 Jews present, etc., and there's a warning and a spectacle and a time of shema, time of persecution, etc. But that appears here too. Then we have laws of tumah v'tahara, contact with the dead, with dead animals, and other various things that will contaminate you. Right? But you know who is allowed to eat lechem? Listen to this. Kohen ki yigneh nefesh kinyan kaspo. Why is a goy? Goyish a slave. Who yochal bo? The goyish slave can eat the truma, the holy bread of Hashem. Can? V'ilip beiso hem yochlu belachmo. Wait a minute. How can, if we're not allowing, a Kohen to marry even a Jewish person who has quote unquote compromised kedusha, then how can he give his holy bread to a non-Jewish slave? Now, I will make a very important distinction. And this is part of the question. A Kohen who's a Balmo, would you think he has permission to eat the karbanos? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
You would think not, right? Now, Torah says specifically that he can. So if you're allowed to eat it, specifically the Torah says that a Kohen who cannot do the service, but can eat from any one of the holiest karbanos. Kodesh Kadash. Why? That's been offered by somebody else,
It's already been.
but he's allowed to eat it.
He's not offering it to Hashem.
Right, but if he is excluded from it, so to speak, if he's not part of that, then why is he allowed to eat it? Well, you'll say to me, well, it's no worse than a non-Jewish slave, but it's a little strange that the very person that we're excluding from this party is participating in only in terms of eating the bread. He eats the bread, but he doesn't bring the bread. Why that distinction?
It was slow.
Well, we'll see. But you might have thought that, leave him out of all this. He can eat other stuff. Maybe he can eat truma. What's wrong with eating truma? That's what a goy can eat. Well, he's going to eat kachik. Remember one thing. When you eat a karban on behalf of another Jew, what are you effecting for them? Kapara. They're getting forgiveness for their sins. You're elevating their souls. That's why Moshe was so angry at Aaron and his sons, remaining sons, that they didn't eat from the karban on the very first day of the Mishkan. They didn't want to eat from the karban of Rosh Chodesh. They burnt it and threw it out. So this is important things. It's a benefit for Klal Yisrael when he eats it. Okay. And then we speak about how carbonos are not allowed from animals that have them, right? They can't go onto the Mizbeach, with one minor exception, birds. Birds that have a small blemish are allowed. If they have a major blemish, like a lost an eye or lost a leg, are not. So be consistent. If we're so insistent that we don't want mumim, then why do we allow a bird to have a minor mumim? It's actually a question the Rabbi asks in the sequence.
What's considered a minor move?
That's a good question. Maybe it's missing a toe, a little part of the toe, a little bit of its claw, but not the whole thing. Maybe it has a little bit of a discoloration, or wounds are also problematic, so maybe it has a little bit of wounds of some kind. They make a distinction between a major mum and a minor mum. There's a lot of discussion about how you define it. Okay. And then we get Dashi B'Tov B'nai Yisrael, the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, giving your life. Now, we get to the second half of Emor, right? We're starting in Rabbi, which deals with the Moadim, which deals with the holiday. Now, listen carefully. What does it start with? It starts with Shabbos. What does Shabbos have to do with Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot? That's question number one. And then we go through which unique mitzvah that we're in the middle of right now. Sfiras HaOmer. In this section of the Torah, Dafka, we speak about, once again, something to do with grain or bread. The Omer comes from barley, right? Again, it appears for the Jewish people and what is the Omer counting us down till Shavuot, when we will offer which carbon? The Shtey Halechem. So you see throughout the entire parsha the recurrent theme of Lechem Hashem, or Lechem Min Hashemayim. That's the theme for the Kohen Gadol, for the regular Kohanim, for animals that have them, for the Jewish people to bring the Omer as a preparation for bringing the one lechem public sacrifice that they're responsible to bring. Okay? And not only that, I'll give you another halacha that doesn't make so much sense. There's a mitzvah that when you cut your field, you have to leave a corner. What's that called? Payah. Like payas, you know? So, when do you do that? Let's say you're a very German Yeckish farmer, and you're very organized, right? And you want to do everything perfectly. Sure, much too. Don't you want to designate it well before the day of the harvest? Right? You'll mark it off, and you'll put a big sign. After all, the people are coming to harvest. They're going to make a mistake. Maybe they'll cut down everything and they won't know. Do it in advance. No. The Torah says it doesn't count for payah unless you do it the very same day that you take the bread, so to speak, for yourself. Why? That's my question. That's the halacha, and the question is why. Let's try to understand it. Okay, another curious, I would have thought, Adarabba, let them get a head start, Let them take before my reapers come. No, the reapers come, same day, they let the aniyim take the pay. That's it. Okay. So when I was learning and preparing for the Shiur, it just struck me again and again that this theme is just running through here. What could it possibly be teaching us? Okay. And even the way it describes the holidays. You know that we read on Yom Tif, all these different readings about the holiday. This particular reading, let me show you how it describes Pesach in this reading of the Moadim, in this Kilu version of the Moadim. All right. So first you have Shabbos, and then and it says, okay, Eila Moedei Hashem. Okay, here we're going to start Chodesh Harishon, V'Abasar L'Chodesh Ben Arba'im Pesach LaHashem. And the 15th of the day would be a Chag HaMatzos Lashem. Shivas Yamim Matzos Tochelu. And from here we learn it's a mitzvah when you go and every bit of matzah that you eat. Through the rest of Pesach is a mitzvah. Did you know that? Constipated or not? That's your issue. Apple juice. So now, what happened to good old carb on Pesach? What word is missing here? It said we say Pesach Ladonai, but then we describe the mitzvah, we describe the holiday as a Chag HaMatzos, we describe it in the context of what? Eating matzah. Again, we look at the prism of, through the prism of Lechem, through that view. Okay? And then we speak about the Omer, which is also Lechem related. And then after that, we move on to Shavuot. And what does it say? Chamishim Yom, wait, count 50 days. V'yikraftem mincha chadash aladonai. Again, a grain sacrifice. Mimoshvoseichem taviu, from your homes. Bring what? Lechem tinufa. Shtayim, 2 things of bread.
Would it be a different kind of flour, or would it be any flour, or?
That is a fine flour. That's fine flour. That's not made out of, remember, the Omer we start with barley, which is the most coarse of the flours, right? Maybe oats is just as bad. Barley and oats are animal food. And again, the Torah's lechem, a lot lechem. And then let's continue on, and it brings us to Karbonos of Shavuos, and then we speak about Rosh Hashanah. You know what Rosh Hashanah is called? It's called Zichron Shruah. Zichron Shruah. What about Yom HaDin? What about all those things? No, because it could fall out on Shabbos, and we're not going to use the shofar. That's the source. They said if it falls on Shabbos, don't use the shofar. We're more worried about Shabbos than shofar. Again, in this context, we're worried about Shabbos, and we'll see why.
Carrying.
What?
It's the problem of carrying.
Yeah, but why in all the time? This is where it comes out, in our Emor. And then we speak about Yom Kippur, which is the main point is not eating, right? Don't eat. The nefesh asher tasa kol malacha, which includes ochel nefesh, preparing food, gets kares. So you see, preparing food again is the issue here. All right. Okay. Then what about Chag HaShavuos? There's no mention about anything much. Mikra Kodesh, and you bring the karbanos to Hashem. That's it. Okay. However, here's what we do say: B'chamisha yom lechodesh Shvi, on the 15th of Tishrei, be'asvechem es tvuas haaretz tachoku chag Adonai Shivas Yomim. Again, and we get the tvua. Tvua is wheat, right? Grains. Etc., etc. And then, of course, you have a mitzvah of Kol Ezra Yisrael. You got to involve everybody else. And how does the parsha end? Yes, there is a response with 2 mitzvahs: the pure oil of the menorah, and then what? The 12 showbreads. The lechem hapa, lechem, 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 beginning to the end. What's going on? So I want to suggest a pshat, inspired a little bit by Rav Hirsch. But first, let's look at some connections. I'm going to give you some words that were from this week's Parsha Lechem, and you associate them. Haman. What do you associate that with? When I say Haman, what do you think? Haman.
Yeah.
Haman min haTorah minayin. Where is this reference? Gemara asks for Haman, Parasha, all the way back into Gracious by the Nachash and Chava, where he says, Hamin ha'etz hazeh. Should you eat from this tree? Again, back to eating, but the Haman and Haman Haman associated with whom? Chazal very blatantly, black and white say, Haman is the embodiment of whom? The Yetzer Hara. What is the Yetzer Hara? And what does it have to do with Lechem? Well, let's go to Pesach, matzah. Why is matzah chametz free? Why? Because what makes bread rise? The seor. The seor shabeisa. What is a metaphor for the, what do you call it? The shmarit, the yeast, thank you. That makes the bread rise? The Yetzer Hara. So here we have man associated with the Yetzer Hara. Matzah associated with getting rid of the Yetzer Hara. Okay? Now, there's a famous story that the Maseches Megillah records about Haman encountering Mordechai on the day before his downfall. And he finds Mordechai learning Torah with a bunch of children. And what are they learning? They're learning about the grain, the flour offerings, the menachos, and the laws of kamitza, taking a handful of flour and throwing it onto the mizbeach as a karban. And Haman mocks Mordechai and says, "You got together to try and break my decree, didn't you? So what are you doing? You're learning this? You think this is going to help you? How's it going to help you? How is your little bit of flour going to erase my 10,000 talents of silver that I offered the king?" Right? Throw a little flour against 10,000 coins of talents of silver, which is stronger. You know, a little bit of flour and a dust in the wind. So what really was Mordechai thinking? What was the plan? How did Mordechai think that by learning about the manachos, the flour sacrifices, he was going to undo Haman? Now, of course, what's the first thing that Esther says we got to do to get rid of Haman? Before. Fast. Fast. Don't eat. Because eating, right? If you eat bread, you're eating that, you're giving power to Haman. And of course, after the sin of Chava and Adam, what was the curse that Adam got? V'zeas apecha tochal lechem. You're going to eat bread. They translate it as by the sweat of the brow, but it's really not the sweat of the brow, is it? Apecha, apayim, is the center of your face, your nose. By your nose you will eat bread. What is that supposed to mean? Okay? Now let's go a little further to the original breads of Bereshit. Who can tell me another incident in the beginning of Bereshit that involves bread? Who brought bread to Abraham? What was he thinking about? Do you know that it's a Jewish custom throughout the generations that when a monarch, a non-Jewish king, comes to visit a Jewish community, you bring him out an offering of bread and salt. That is a minhag Yisrael. Like they even did it for Kaiser Wilhelm when he came to Yerushalayim. Oh, by the way, I found out something fascinating. I have to share this with you. My wife was talking about the royal family. Everybody was talking about there was a baby. Chris wasn't it?
Archie.
Archie Comics.
Is that his name?
It's a bizarre one. Remember I told you once before that Sir Kessin speaks about this a lot. Right now we're seeing the fall of Esav and the rise of Yaacov. Right? The last monarchy in the world that's taken seriously, other than the Arab countries I'm talking about, is the last Western monarchy, which already is basically the separation of church and state is long gone, and the power center is long gone, but England is the last great monarchy. Did you know that just over 100 years ago, that England controlled about 4/5 of the world? Did you know that? Queen Victoria. And you want to know about the yichus of Queen Victoria? She's German. Did you know that? this House of Windsor is fake news. They were really Germans. They were from Hanover, and the main mothers of that dynasty in the 1900s, 19th century, and up until the 20th century, were a shidduch between the Germans and the quote-unquote English, who were half German to begin with, because their ancestors were all married to each other. Don't think that it was between France, England, and Germany. They kept marrying each other all the way back to the very beginnings, before the year 1000. So I was looking at this and I said, you know what? This is Esav par excellence. It's everything. It's the Germans and England, and this is their malchus. You know, in 1917 they changed the name they created this House of Windsor because they were going into World War I. It was before World War I, or it was maybe right after World War I. And they didn't want to have any association with the Germans anymore, so they changed the name to Windsor, but it used to be like, it was Lord Mountbatten was Battenberg. Did you know that? Because Mount and Berg, a berg is a mountain. So they made it sound very English. Fake news, Lord Mountbatten. Oh, very English, going all the way back. Nah, it's a bunch of people from Bavaria. Hamburg, right? Battenberg, Hamburg, they're all the same. Unbelievable. And what has happened to that malchus right now? It's at its lowest point. It went from being the greatest monarchy. It was their last hurrah. Their last hurrah was the 19th century. Did you know that Queen Victoria was the Empress of India? You know how many people live in India? She was an empress. They had Egypt. What else did they have? They had Egypt, besides having Israel. But what happens? They lose everything. Everything. They have nothing. Now they can't even get along with each other to run a country together. They don't know who they are. You belong to Europe. Don't belong to Europe. Apart, we're separate. We're exiting. We're not exiting. Nobody knows what's flying. Nobody knows what's going. And now they have the yichus of an African-American girl, right? Nice African-American girl, with a father who was basically a homeless person, very big yichus, right? And this is the baby. Who's named after Archie Comics. No, I think she named him after her dead cat. Eize Kavod. Read it, look at it from the perspective, from our perspective. It is such a degradation. Now, the all and end all of this was that there was a big controversy because there was a cartoon. I guess we better not record this. There was a cartoon saying, we're now showing off the royal baby. And they showed a subhuman.
Monkey.
A monkey. What's a nice word? What's a nice word for monkey? What?
Chimp.
Cove. And in English, I think they call it.
Chimp.
No, they have a name for them. That whole species.
This guy got
Whatever. Let's not go. This is the covered